Welcome, FloodGate family, to our impromptu pre-recorded Improving Live today. My name is Sarah Krieg, and I am the Director of Marketing here at FloodGate Medical, and I am joined by Talent Director Brittany Erickson, and we are super excited to bring you this segment on building your personal brand. So, Brittany, I've had the opportunity to be able to work with you over the last couple of years, but for those who may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Brittany Erickson. I am a talent director here at FloodGate. I've recruited for over 10 years, but have been with FloodGate for the last 3.5. I also focus on the business development side and focus on the urology, women's health, and GI segments as well. So happy to be here. I mean, I really have a passion for this, and so it's going to be a fun segment.
We're excited for it, and we're excited you guys are able to join us. If anybody ends up having questions at the end, please leave them in the comments, and we'll go back through and answer them since we're not able to take your questions live. But other than that, let's just dive right in. So we're here today really to chat a little bit more about building your personal brand. And as a marketing professional, I've had so many different candidates and people that I work with come up to me sometimes and say, like, but what is your personal brand? What is my personal brand? And so let's just start out talking about what that is. And in the simplest of words and in the simplest of ways, your personal brand is how you present yourself and how others are going to perceive you. So we can start as high level as the color of your hair, the way that you dress. That's all a part of what makes up your personal brand and who you are. The energy that you're bringing to the table, those are all encompassing that. What we want to spend some time on today is we're going to kind of dig into the granular of how building your personal brand during the job search can really be effective.
I mean, it really can be the differentiator. And, you know, as Sarah mentioned, styling yourself, helping shape the way people perceive you is extremely important during this process. I mean, perception is reality. And, you know, what people see, they're going to make decisions really quickly on what they think about you. And so not only is your presence in person important, but also online. And, you know, we all use LinkedIn. We're here right now. And other times that you're in person with people, these are times where your personal brand really matters. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so let's even just start out with building your online presence, right? That's a large part during the job search of what you want to do to help build your brand persona. So the obvious place that we're going to start is on LinkedIn. So if you're not familiar with it, LinkedIn is the top in the world social network for professionals. And when you're applying for jobs, when you're looking for opportunities, when you're in your current opportunity, your LinkedIn profile is really integral to the way that you're going to come across to others. So we're going to have some really cool in-depth tips and tricks that we're going to give you as to how you can build your personal brand on LinkedIn. But if you don't already have a profile set up, maybe you're just graduating college, maybe you have a profile, but you're not ever really on there and don't have connections, I encourage you to start getting more active and get comfortable with your LinkedIn profile as a whole. And transitioning into that too, you know, we talk about LinkedIn when we're thinking about the job search, but unbeknownst to a lot of different candidates, your online presence isn't just going to encompass where you're actually looking for the job. So while LinkedIn may be the channel that you're trying to focus in on when you're on that actual job search, I can, with authority, say that the way that you come across online as a whole is going to make a difference. So your social profiles, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of those different things are going to encompass your brand persona as well. And it's important to just be cognizant of that and know about what is public. I challenge you guys to Google yourself, see what's out there. It doesn't mean you have to change who you are, but maybe consider making some of your other socials private during the job search practice.
Totally agree. I can't tell you how many times myself, our team, and hiring managers actually do Google you. They look you up. And I think of one particular situation where someone had posted some pretty challenging comments politically and probably not the best idea. And so it did affect the way that they were perceived. And so one thing I can say is that your personal brand really can be what attracts employers to you. And so you don't want to do anything that's going to detract. And so, you know, most of the time you have very few seconds to really get your personal brand across. And so there's a statistic out there that says that basically when someone is looking at your profile or even your resume, that it's about 7 seconds. You have 7 seconds. That's really fast to get them excited about you, to share at least a message of something that's going to excite them, attract them, make them feel like that you're potentially going to be a match for this.
Right.
position.
A really short amount of time to capture that attention. And that's why, we've built out these tips we're going to walk through with you guys, because how you come across, what you say and how you say it is going to make such a difference between you maybe getting the call for an opportunity or somebody just coasting right on over. So when we're talking about online presence and LinkedIn profiles, are there specific things that maybe we want to be cognizant of when we're building out our personal brand?
Oh, for sure. I think let's start from the top. I mean, your headshot, right? So you're going to want to make sure that your headshot is clear, not necessarily a car selfie. They're okay, but I mean, we can use our iPhones and use the portrait mode. Maybe have a friend take it for you, or if you're able, get a professional headshot. It really does make a difference. But if anything, you've got to have a headshot. Make sure you get one up there.
Yep, whether it's professional or not, I'm in agreement with that. I can tell you when we have that short amount of time, sometimes maybe your accolades and what you've done in your past career are incredible, but we can't get past that car selfie headshot. So be cognizant if you're on the job search of what you have, what you're presenting. To Brittany's point, it doesn't need to be a professional one. If you just have a partner or a friend take an actual regular picture of you and have that uploaded as your headshot, it makes a world of difference during the application process.
You mean like a picture holding a fish is not going to
attract
employers?
We'll save the fish pictures for the dating profiles. I think when we're talking about our LinkedIn and the way we want to perceive ourselves, think about how you want to be perceived. You want people thinking of you in that professional way. So, wear the clothing that makes you feel comfortable. Your brand persona is going to come through in your image as well. So have it be a clean, clear shot of you facing forward, and it's going to make a world of difference.
It really does. And, especially when we are going to be looking at a lot of different people for the position, there's going to be little tiny things that separate people from others. And that's one of those things. So next, we're going to talk about the cover image. It's up there right behind your headshot. And, this does matter too. Typically when people are currently employed somewhere, they'll have a cover image of their current company. That's great. But, maybe even think about if you're on the hunt and you're looking to stay within a particular industry or maybe change into a different industry, you might want to consider something that reflects that.
Right.
And so even generalizing it a little bit, making it something just modern, that's something to think about too. But I always like it when people at least have something that shares something about them and creates the opportunity for someone to formulate, a thought about their brand and who they are.
Right. If you have that short amount of time when you're on the actual LinkedIn profile, and say you're maybe a sales rep that's looking specifically in the cardiovascular industry, if you have something that's cardiovascular in that cover image, the hiring manager or the recruiter is going to know as soon as they lay eyes on your profile, okay, this person's within the network of what we're looking for. So any cues that you're able to give, and I would challenge if you don't have something specific maybe within the niche that you're looking for, keep it clean and modern. Coming from a marketing perspective, you just don't want it to be too messy. You don't want it to be disorganized or a random shot of your house in the background. Like, let's keep it something that's just clean, modern, geometric. It doesn't need to be anything too crazy.
Yeah. And next, let's talk about that headline. Do you guys know what the headline is?
So the headline is going to be what's right underneath your picture, right? Your name, your picture, and then you've got that tagline right there.
Exactly. These words can make such a huge difference because there are only 2 sections on LinkedIn that we actually pull our filtered words from, and one of those is the headline. The others is the About Me section, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is going to be where you are able to say a few things about yourself. What are you doing currently? What are you looking for? What do you want to really shine? And so, a great example of that would be saying something like an experienced territory manager with expertise in the urology space.
So keywords.
Simple and keywords that are going to be pulled up in different filters. Yes.
Love that. And so that too, we say that recruiters and hiring managers maybe are spending that 7 seconds on your profile, but let's say they just click onto it. What's going to show up right at the top is your headshot, your cover image, and your headline. And so being able to identify who you are as a professional and maybe a specific niche that you're working in or looking to work in, that's going to be number one, just visually what people see. And then to Brittany's point, it's one of the only 2 areas where you're actually able to search. And so that's huge, because let's give a little bit of backstory on that. As a recruiter and as a hiring manager, you guys are actually searching for certain keywords on LinkedIn, if I'm understanding correctly, right?
Correct. I can tell you, typically with my searches, I may be looking for a sales representative. And during that search, I will filter probably 15 to 20 different combinations of words to try to find the right people and the right experience. And so you've got to have those in there. You're going to go further down the list. Okay. You don't want to be that person.
We want to be seen, right, guys? We want to be searchable. Okay, so we've got our headshot, our cover image, the headline, and then we also mentioned and talked a little bit about that About Me section. Yes. So walk me through what should go there.
The About Me section is going to be basically your summary. And this is where you're going to talk about, what you're doing now, what you're looking for, and really highlighting the best aspects of your experience. And so this is a great section for you to be able to talk about the different accolades that you've had, maybe post some of the awards that you've received, really take advantage of the fact that that's the top part of your profile. And so anything that really makes you stand out and differentiates yourself from other people, that's what you're going to post in that section.
So I know I've seen before when people maybe have made President's Club or specific different accolades, and they put theirs more so in like the job history section. You're saying that it's more impactful to actually have it in the About Me section?
I would absolutely agree with that, yes. I think it's good to pull maybe your top 3 to 5 that you think are your best, that you're most proud of. Put those at the top. You can still put them down in the experience section. That's totally fine, but I would definitely bump them up, give them, more light to shine. And, one additional thing I think is kind of nice to put in that section, I've seen a lot of it, is doing the Gallup strengths.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of a fun thing that you can do when you take that assessment, and you're able to learn a little bit about people's personalities very quickly by sharing those. And the other cool thing is if you have something in common with the person that you're going to be talking to, it's a great talking point.
It's a great talking point. Yeah. I love that. And I know from my own personal About Me section, I like to add a little bit of personality in there. Exactly. So if you're bubbly and energetic, have that come through in your About Me section. This is where your personality can shine through. And that's where I also feel as though the Gallup strengths and identifying what those top 5 strengths are for you, that allows somebody, without having to speak to you directly, really understand on a deeper level who you are.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Love that. Resumes. What about resumes? So is that a part of the brand persona as well? We're talking about the online presence. We're talking about LinkedIn. What about your resume?
I mean, your resume is basically your calling card. It's going to be a summary of your years of experience. And whether that means that you've maybe just started your professional career, that's okay too, because you're going to be sharing aspects of who you are as a person and other things that you're proud of. But as you go further in your career, some people might think that the longer your career, the longer your resume. No. If you can be 1, maybe 2 pages, that's always ideal. But really take advantage of that first page and be succinct and focused, because this is going to be a professional representation of you, and you want them to be attracted quickly.
Right, because there's still that same 7 seconds we were talking about, right? It's that short amount of time that people have to actually be able to engage with your resume and get eyes on it, if they even get to the resume point. So you never know what a hiring manager or what a recruiter may be taking a look at, whether it be your LinkedIn profile, your resume. So let's make sure that we have your brand personality and your persona really built out kind of across the table. Yeah. And if you're new to creating a resume, or maybe you haven't applied for a new job in a while and your resume is outdated, check out our website, FloodGateMedical.com. We do actually have a ton of different resources in terms of tips and tricks and ways that you can really vamp up your resume. We've done entire segments on that before, so I won't get too far into it, but I do encourage you guys to take the time and make sure that that's really properly just focusing on what you want it to for your brand story.
Yeah, agreed. And you want to take advantage of that top portion of that resume, because this is where people are trying to figure out, hey, is this person worth a conversation? Put those quantifiable results up there, get their attention quickly, show a little personality, and you'll be able to have those conversations.
I love that. So let's shift gears a little bit. We've talked about the online presence. We've talked about the resume and what kind of needs to happen in those areas. what about networking? Does networking come into play at all when you're kind of developing that?
We are on LinkedIn. This is a pretty big networking site, right, for professionals. So yes, networking is extremely important. And as you are starting to build those relationships over time, you're going to be building those relationships online and also in person, right? So not only can these relationships help give you new opportunities, be there for you as far as references, recommendations. Really, it's part of who you are, and your personal story is your network, right?
Right. And so when I hear the word networking, I don't know about you guys, but I traditionally am picturing this like large scale event. I'm going in there. I have my business cards. I'm shaking hands. I'm making conversations. I'm trying to make those connections. That obviously is still going on today. But when we talk about online networking, what does that look like? What does that look like for networking, kind of where maybe somebody's across the country, but you're trying to connect with them?
It really is in the strategy behind it. So if you are looking to break into medical device, say you have a sales background and you've done B2B sales for ADP, for example, you're going to want to try to build relationships with people that are in the medical device space. So not only can you send out those invitations to people on LinkedIn, but also start talking to your own personal network. Talk to your friends, your family, let them know that this is something that you really want to do.
Right.
And you never know who's going to know somebody. I mean, your next opportunity could come from someone that's currently a stranger. You just never know who that person will be that will link you to that opportunity.
Right. And what I've experienced in the past is that a lot of times people are really hesitant to network. They think to themselves like, well, that's not in my personality. I'm not one to reach out. I don't want to feel like I'm bothering people. What I would challenge people to do if you're looking to expand your network, if you're looking to network in different ways, see if there's anything locally going on in person that you're able to attend that's relevant for you. Send a message to maybe a previous coworker that you had or a friend that you've lost touch with on LinkedIn, just to kind of start breaking down your own personal barriers of how to reach out and how comfortable you are with it. Because I promise once you start, Brittany can speak to this, it's going to come that much more naturally. And, it kind of almost leads me into too, when you're reaching out to past people maybe that you've worked with or friends that know you really, really well, recommendations, right? LinkedIn actually has a section within their platform where you're able to request recommendations. And that's, to me, sounds like it's a great starting talking point to say, hey, I'm on the market, or hey, I'm looking for another opportunity. It's opening up the lines of conversation, right? And then also allowing you to build up those recommendations.
Right. So I can tell you, as I look at candidates' profiles, I almost all the time will go down to the bottom to look at those recommendations first, because that always shows me like, hey, they've built up a lot of relationships, and you can see what the titles of those people are and where they come from. And so it allows for you to almost have more trust in who this person is, and it really validates your experience. And so the other piece of it is, yes, it's an excuse to reach out. I mean, when you are actively on the market and looking for a new opportunity, you're going to want to talk to people that are in your network and that can at least know like what your work ethic is like, right? So like, they would be happy to refer you. Most people are happy to help. I mean, at the end of the day, most people are happy to help. And so really take advantage of this platform and others. I mean, your network is really everything in the job search.
Right. It's not what you know, it's who you know, guys, especially during the job search. Those connections are going to take you so far. And that's why we want to be able to help you guys craft that brand persona. And transitioning right into that, okay, so we've got our online portfolios. You guys kind of understand the way that you need to be presenting yourselves and kind of formulating your LinkedIns and the different impact that can make. So you may be thinking to yourself, okay, guys, I'm ready to start building that out. Yeah. But how do you actually craft that value proposition for yourself? And so we've kind of taken the time to break it down into 4 simple steps of what you need to be able to do to kind of craft that value proposition and really be able to sell yourself. That's what it is being able to sell yourself and give yourself the chance at an opportunity, at a new job opportunity. So the first thing you're going to want to do is actually do a self-assessment. And it sounds silly, but you take out a piece of paper, you take out a pen, and you write down how you view yourself. What's important to you? Where do you feel like your strengths are? Where do you feel like and know that your weaknesses are? I think it's also really important during the self-assessment to talk about what's important to you. You know,
Right.
is the company culture really important to you where you go? Is monetary gain and your career trajectory growth where you want to focus on? Take out a piece of paper, write those things down so that you can really self-identify who you are in this moment during the job search and have that deeper understanding of it.
It's so important. And I can say, you know, that's one of the very first questions that we ask as a recruiter is why? Why now? Why are you looking? And really understanding your mindset. And I think that it's important to actually take the time to focus on that, to really have that understanding of self and like, hey, is this really the right time to be looking?
Right.
Am I in the right mindset? Is the timing right? And so not only does it matter when you're talking to a recruiter, but the hiring manager that you're going to be speaking with too,
right.
They care about that.
Yep. The more you start kind of focusing on why am I here and what does make me stand out, and doing that exercise of writing it down is only going to allow you to be that much more confident when you're speaking to hiring managers or recruiters. The next thing I always challenge people to do after they've done their own self-assessment is to seek feedback. So go to past people that you've worked with, talk to your family members, talk to friends, talk to people within your circle, and ask them to kind of describe you as a professional, describe you as a worker, what comes to mind for them. And then the cool thing about that is you ask enough people, you get enough feedback, and then you're really able to sit back and reflect on where are the commonalities? Where am I noticing that I identified a strength, and then out of the 6 people that I spoke with, they all mentioned it as well, because that's going to help you to, on your own self-assessment, really identify where you're kind of coming out on top in the way that you're perceived, right, by others.
Yep. No, I think it's really important to get that feedback, and honestly, it's a time for you to have a little humility also, because it's good to find out, hey, you know, you've always been so supportive of me. Was there any aspect of my role that you felt I could have improved upon? I mean, understanding not only the positive parts of your persona, but also some of those areas that maybe you need to work on.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think after you've kind of taken the time to do your self-assessment, you've taken the time to seek that feedback, that's when you can really sit down and start crafting your value proposition.
Right.
So you want to be direct, you want to be intentional about what you're saying that you're wanting to try to do, where you're wanting to try to be, and come up with those words. And you're going to probably, you know, go through it a couple of times, right, to be able to figure out what it's going to say and what's going to stick the most, or what sounds the best. Because what I've noticed when I've even done for myself sometimes is I write down where I think my strengths are, what I think that I want to be portrayed as, and then I say it all out loud and I kind of practice through it, and I'm like, wait, this isn't how I want to come across. This isn't how I want to be like perceived. And so it's really important to kind of do that self-assessment, seek the feedback, write down what you feel as though is kind of your value props, and then say it out loud.
Yeah, and this is where a really big tip comes into play, and I share this with a lot of my candidates, is that I really recommend recording yourself. Do it by video and do it by voice memo on your phone, so that not only can you at least see the energy, and hopefully you see a smile, and you can hear that over the phone. I can't tell you how many times I feel like the other person's just beaming, and you just feel that energy, and that makes me more attracted to that person. Like, I want to continue the conversation. I feel the energy coming through. And so the other piece of that is you do want to see how long it takes you to run through your resume, run through your work history. Like, you don't want to be sitting there talking for 5, 6, 7 minutes straight, and then the person across from you or over the phone is like tired. I mean, you've lost their attention. And so you need to be focused, succinct, and really direct when you're delivering.
And the last tip that we always give when you're kind of crafting your value proposition is to make sure that you're actually articulating your value. So, you know, they want to know what you're bringing to the table. And so make sure within your points that you're writing down and your points that you're building out together, you're truly articulating the value of what you're going to bring to the team and bring to that opportunity. everybody does it a little bit differently when they're kind of starting to develop their value proposition. But I challenge people to, as you're applying for different roles and different opportunities, think about how you may want to sell yourself a little bit differently for this particular opportunity. Yeah. Maybe you're calling on more accounts out in the field, so you want to be able to let it be known that I'm outgoing and I'm perfectly comfortable going up, walking in, and, you know, asking for the sale, if you will. And there may be other jobs that you're applying for that still align with where your skill set is, but you don't need to hone in as strongly on those particular strengths.
Yeah,
so.
and really, again, to reemphasize, it needs to be quantifiable, especially if you're in sales, or it's a position where the results are really going to be what sell you as a candidate. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
So one thing I've kind of heard too is that personal brand persona, you know, when you're sharing it, it's also maybe called an elevator pitch. Have you heard that?
The elevator pitches. So your elevator pitch, you always want to have, we say 30 seconds max is what I would say. And that's where you're really just trying to sell yourself for that opportunity. You want to be clear and concise. I always lean towards, you want to show a little bit of personality too. So if you're fun and goofy, kind of add that into your elevator pitch a little bit, and kind of be able to concisely say what you're going to bring to the table too. So practice your elevator pitch, right? Film yourself. Do it.
Do it. And so I'm going to challenge you. I mean, you're in marketing. You're a director of marketing. I think you've pitched a few things. I'd love to hear you pitch yourself.
Oh, she's putting me on the spot. You're putting me on the spot. Okay. So an elevator pitch. So I work in marketing. So if I were back on the job market again, let's just pretend I'm sitting in front of somebody and they ask me to introduce myself and describe yourself. That's a situation where you would, you would want to actually use your elevator pitch. So I've been in marketing for over a decade, Brittany. And so that sounds like a long time, but I've still got a lot of learning to go, and I'm excited about that opportunity with your company. What's super unique about me in particular is that I've got this like high energy that you're probably going to want to tame down sometimes, but that energy is going to really help you guys build and develop on the brand strategy needs that you've identified that you're hoping this role can kind of achieve. Brand strategy is my favorite part of implementing marketing. And so the fact that this is where this particular role is really focused on, I love that my background in marketing and sales can kind of meld together for you guys and help you guys develop that really strong brand strategy. And love what you guys are already doing online. And I see so many awesome opportunities too to just elevate that. And I would love an opportunity to be able to grow and help you guys kind of pitch that.
I mean, boom, mic drop, right? Oh my gosh, it's so good.
And the great thing about that, guys, is that it's meant to be impromptu. It's meant to be authentic to who you are.
You don't want to sound like a recorded robot.
Right.
I mean,
don't think that you are. We talk about practicing, and the practicing is really just about you getting comfortable talking about yourself and where your experience lies.
Just feeling a little bit more confident in delivery.
Yeah. It's not meant to be scripted. It's not meant to be something that every single time I'm going to say this, like, no, and you may do that too, and that's awesome if you do, but make sure that what you're stating is really authentically you, no matter what words that are going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah, true.
All right, cool. So, Brittany, this was kind of the point we were going to be taking questions from the audience. I have a couple of questions that our team has received from other candidates, so I would love to be able to just kind of tap into those with you right now.
Sure.
Guys, just as a reminder, we want to be able to answer your questions too. So please do leave them in the comments after this video or on the event itself, and we'll go through and take the time to answer those. We want to be able to give that feedback for you guys during this live.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about how a person's personal brand can change over time, or can it change over time? Or do you feel as though it's always going to be the same?
Well, yes, it's going to change. We all are going to grow in our careers, and change is a good thing. And I think that that's why it's so important to do these self-assessments and think about, you know, what have I learned over the last 5 years? What do I bring to the table? Your resume from 5 years ago is not going to be the same resume that you have today.
Right.
And, you know, this is a conversation I have a lot with people that may be more veterans in the industry. They've been in leadership roles or with the same company for 10, 20 years sometimes, and this is their first time they're on the market.
Right.
And so it's really important to think about that, that history that you've had and all of the different things that you've learned, and be able to share that in a focused way. And so, you know, you've got to take the time to actually think about what is different about you, and and what has been elevated over time.
Yeah, because really your brand persona, your brand story is going to elevate with your career, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right out of college, that scrappy salesperson who's really looking for their first opportunity and maybe is really honed in on what they think they want.
Right.
After 5 years in the industry, that's going to change. That's expected to change. We want to see the change.
Yep.
So make sure you're actively thinking about how your brand persona is changing and what you want to be perceived by. I also would say too, even just something as simple as a headshot. If it's dated,
say that.
yeah, if it's dated, if it's
Yeah.
from 5 to 10 years ago, it may be an amazing shot of you, but the technology itself is going to look a little bit like old and worn. And then also you want to be realistic and authentic as to who you are today and now. So none of us really love getting our picture taken, but Brittany did it this week, actually. She redid her headshot, so we're going to get those posted soon. But I think it's an important thing to just keep mind of. You don't want to have a very dated profile overall. Same with your resume, and same just how you pitch yourself. You don't want to be stagnant, right? We want to continually be growing.
And this is not even just for your when you're looking for a brand new job and changing companies or industries. This is also for your current company.
Yeah.
You want to keep it updated. If you are considering a new role within the organization, or maybe changing divisions, or even up for a promotion, you want to show that you take your professional persona and profile very seriously.
Right.
And so keep that updated.
Okay, I love that. We'll go through one other question here that I've got. And so what importance level, we obviously just had an entire segment about building your brand persona. What importance level does this actually have in the job search process? And is it really that important to invest the time into developing that brand persona?
It's honestly everything. Every effort that you put into honing who you are as a person and delivering that to the public and to who you're speaking to, it matters. And I will tell you, it's a very competitive job market. And if I am going to be speaking with 30 different people for one role, you have to think about what is going to put you ahead of somebody else, what is going to make you stand out, differentiate yourself. And so if you're not taking the time to reflect and figure out how to share that in a way that's going to be attracting other people to you,
right,
and that you feel that confidence in reaching out and networking to others, it's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, it really does come down to the effort that you put out there. You're going to get that back. Right.
It's a numbers game. So you just mentioned that for one particular role or opportunity, you may talk to 30 people. There are potentially 100 others that you're not even setting up that initial conversation with. And so much of that, I think, on the hiring manager side and the recruiter side, they're going to be taking a look briefly through your resume, briefly through your LinkedIn profile. And so that's why we wanted to do this segment for you guys and really kind of just give you the tips and tools and tricks to hone in on your personal brands and the way that you can exemplify that both through your words and through your online presence.
Right.
Brittany, I think we're at the end of our time now, but I so appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today, dive into this. Guys, if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. We'll go through, we'll kind of answer those through after the live is done, but we appreciate your time today and we're looking forward to seeing you guys on our next Improving Live.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.